Alright, I'm really not in the mood to edit videos, so I'm going to do my review and souvenir of the week really quick and just try to get it all done in one take. So, my review for this week is that book by Sam Leach that I showed you last week when I was talking about all the autographs he gave me. I finished it last week, and it ended up being very entertaining. The good thing about the book is it gives you a great sense of the atmosphere of early 60s Liverpool. Sam Leach was a promoter, and back in those days he was organizing the big beat shows and concerts and things with all the groups you've heard about: Jerry and the Pacemakers, Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, the Beatles, the Big Three, King Size Taylor and the Dominoes, blah blah blah, all those people. He was right there in the middle of all of that. And he gives a great sense of atmosphere in this book about what it was like to be around these people screaming for their favorite beat groups and organizing all of the shows, and what it was like organizing security for the shows, and what it was like being at the shows. He gives you a great sense of atmosphere for all of that. The cons of the book: he makes a lot of pretty extravagant claims. And I'm not saying that Sam Leach is lying, because I don't know, I wasn't there. But he states such things as he coined the term Merseybeat, that he told Brian Epstein about the Beatles, that he later told Brian Epstein that he should clean up the image of the Beatles, that all of these things that he just claims that he is completely solely responsible for. And every time he makes one of these claims, immediately afterward, he talks about how, to spite him, people erased him out of the history books in all of these instances. And it's hard to figure out how one person can spite all of these different people to erase them out of the history books. And the one person he really points a finger at tends to be Brian Epstein, saying that Brian just completely did not want Sam in the Beatles' history at all. So he actively pushed Sam out of the picture. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But if you read this book and no other Beatles history book, you're going to think Sam Leach was like the main person in the Beatles' lives to get them everywhere they needed to go, but always fell short of getting credit for it. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I do recommend the book because it does give you a great sense of what 1960s Liverpool was like, what those shows were like that we all wished we could go back in time and see. Because the Beatles we know are the ones who were already cleaned up from Brian Epstein, already getting famous around the world, not just in Liverpool. And I don't know about you guys, but one of the things I would love to go back in time and see is one of those cavern lunchtime sessions with the Beatles, wearing their leather, smoking, telling jokes on stage, doing whatever the heck they wanted. I would love to see that again, and you kind of get a very good sense of what that could have been like by reading this book. So, I recommend the book. I'd probably give it 4 out of 5 stars, because it tells you exactly what it was like back in those days, which is what we all wish we could know. And Sam also has a great Liverpool sense of humor, and there are a lot of laugh-out-loud moments in this book. I'm being completely serious. I mean, it's pretty funny. He's a pretty funny guy, and it's interesting to hear about his point of view in all these situations. And I loved it. I loved it a lot. So there's some really good anecdotes in here, and like Sam said, you gotta read the book. And I did, and it was great. So I highly recommend it. The Rocking City, The Explosive Birth of the Beatles by Sam Leach. There you go. Now my London-Liverpool souvenir of the week comes from a festival that Danica and I stumbled upon on a street you may have heard of called Carnaby Street. And they were having a swinging Carnaby festival. And basically it's a 60s festival. Everyone was dressed in the 60s clothes. There was 60s music everywhere. There were clothes shops everywhere. It was amazing. And the Beatles spent a lot of time on Carnaby Street, so it's a pretty big milestone in the Beatles' career. And actually in the brochure there's a cool picture of Paul and Jane. And it was just cool. It's where they would go shopping and stuff with people like the Rolling Stones, that type of thing. But this is not my piece of Beatles memorabilia, but this is the brochure from the festival. And we had no idea this was going on. We totally just came across it. They're also handing out these little things. And a map of the underground. Well, they call it the tube, but I call it the underground. And one of the things that was going on at this festival was a photo gallery exhibition called Sorry You Missed the 60s. And what it was a collection of photographs taken by Phillip Townsend. Who is Phillip Townsend, you ask? Phillip Townsend is a famous photographer from the 60s and 70s, and he did a lot of good pictures of the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, etc., etc., the famous people from the 60s and 70s. And one of the things he's famous for in the Beatles' legacy are pictures from their trip to India. And one of the more famous pictures that he took is this one. I'm sure you recognize it. It's got the Maharishi in there, George, John, Ringo, Paul, a couple of the wives. I think Maureen, Patty, and Jane are in there. I don't see Cynthia, but pretty cool. I think Derek Taylor's back there somewhere. It's a pretty neat picture. And the cool thing about this, I bought the postcard at the exhibition, is that he signed it. Yeah! Phillip Townsend autograph from the Swinging Carnaby Festival in Carnaby Street, London. Pretty cool. So that's my London Liverpool souvenir of the week. Hope you enjoyed. At the end of the video, I'm going to throw in some footage that we caught at the festival of this really cool lady who stuck a piano in the middle of the street and passed out lyric sheets and did a big sing-along with anyone who was in the street. And it was so much fun. And she did a couple Beatles songs, and I'll throw that at the end of the video. So I hope you enjoyed my review and souvenir of the week. And I'm excited that we have a new Fab fan on Thursday, Melt the Walrus 13. Definitely make her feel welcome. You're going to love her videos. Her audition was amazing. So, there you go. Have a Fab Tuesday and an even more Fab week. That was so lame. That was so lame. Bye.